Recently, I've been playing World War Z, and it turned out to be quite a fun horde zombie shooter game that has a few similarities with Left 4 Dead, although it does have its own charm. I particularly like the defenses that you set up right before a massive horde of zombies come running and climbing over fences just to get to you. I really enjoyed it. However, when I first began playing the game, I got a little jump scare from an unexpected zombie that lurked out of my sight. It just shows you how few of them there truly are. And it fucking sucks. Ah! What the fuck is this?
Yeah, it's not your day, creeper.
This made me wonder, what would make a scary zombie game? Or better yet, a scary horde zombie game? I think most people, when they think of a scary zombie game, thinks of The Last of Us. It has so many tense and anxious moments throughout the game, especially that fucking hotel where you need to start the generator.
Damn it. No, I'm good.
Seriously, fuck that place. But The Last of Us really managed to pull off that feeling where the zombies are an actual threat to the player and doesn't just treat you like the doomslayer of the zombie apocalypse. Especially the clickers, who are a common and dangerous enough zombie that can kill you in a single grab. But the thing about most zombie games is that they are normally not that scary, since it is usually made to be a more fun-focused game mode that you play with your friends. Of course, the idea of zombies are scary, and in some zombie games you do feel a little anxiety when they get close, but rarely are they a full-blown horror game intended to scare you. And this begs the question, what would make a zombie horde shooter game scary? Well, let's take a look at other horror games and find out what makes them scary. Now, there are many good and scary horror games, but I will mostly use Outlast, Alien Isolation and Dead Space as my main examples. These games share a couple elements that contribute to the overall fear factor, and if you add them together, you begin to get a recipe designed for a scary time. The main elements that stand out from these games are things like the low visibility and darkness, the mostly isolated situation you find yourself in, the background sounds and atmosphere that contribute to that horror vibe, and the violent enemies that you struggle to defend against. These are just some elements, and there are many that I can list, but these ones I feel are particularly important, especially when you begin adding them together. However, in all three of these supposedly terrifying games, I think that they are missing that something that I have only ever been able to truly find in Call of Duty World at War. Call of Duty World at War has always been my favorite Call of Duty game, from the gloomy and dark Russian story campaign, balanced with the bombastic action American campaign. It is by far the best World War II game, in my opinion, since it shows the brutality of the war mixed with the respect it shows for the veterans that fought during that war. However, for as much as I would love to make a video about that game, this video is about something else. You see, when you finish the main campaign of the game, and it rolls the credits, the game throws you into an unexpected match. Nobody knew about this since it wasn't advertised before the game's release, and this was intended to be a little bit of extra bonus content for completing the game. Here, you wake up after a plane crash, and all you see through the wooden barricades and holes in the wall is a deep fog that hides everything from you. You see something moving closer, almost like a person, but the movements are unnatural. As they slowly drag their feet towards you, you hear these deep, awful groans of pain and anger until they reach the wooden barriers that separate you from them. You see these glowing orange eyes as they begin to ferociously rip off the planks, keeping them out, and that is your first introduction to the Call of Duty zombie franchise. This map is called Nacht der Untoten, and you are the plane pilot that is now trying to survive the Night of the Dead. You find yourself stuck inside a very small building that feels somewhat claustrophobic. There is not a lot of room to move nor hide, and when you look outside, the fog limits how far you can see, which makes the whole area feel even smaller. The building is also quite dark, where only some lanterns and the moonlight reveal any threats that are coming for you. The ambience and atmosphere makes you think that you are completely surrounded by these zombies, and there is no escape. And these zombies are not just weak creatures, but instead they are terrifying. They don't just look scary for a photo. Instead, they become stronger the longer you survive. They begin to run towards you, and if you blow their legs off with a grenade, they will crawl desperately towards you, as if they are demonically possessed just to kill you. They groan hungrily for your flesh as they tear apart the few wooden planks intended to slow them down. And when there are many of them inside this small, claustrophobic building, it becomes almost suffocating with how trapped you feel. All you have are these shitty World War II guns that don't seem to kill fast enough, and these wooden barriers that don't seem to keep them out for long enough. Oh, and remember that it only takes 2 hits from a zombie to kill you. So, when I first played this game, after it released in 2008, this map and game mode left a mark on me as one of the scariest horror games I have ever played. But why? The obvious conclusion is that it shares many of the same elements with the other horror games that I've mentioned earlier, like the darkness, the isolation, the atmosphere, and the violent enemies that are an actual threat to you. However, there is one element especially that it does not share with these other horror games. Something that is rooted deeper in this specific map that is not like any of the other horror games that you normally find. You see, when you play Outlast, there is this hope that you will escape the insane asylum. When you play either Alien Isolation or Dead Space, there is this hope that you will escape the space station and that you will get away from the threats you've had to deal with throughout the game. You know this in the back of your mind, since you will most likely survive to see the story through. But in Nacht der Untoten, there is no story to keep you alive for the plot. In fact, there is no hope that you will survive at all. You are completely surrounded by an infinite and relentless enemy that will not stop until you join them as a walking corpse. Post-editing me here, but I feel like I need to quickly explain something. For me personally, a scary game is not about the jump scares, gore, or even how scared I was while playing the game, but instead the concept of that horror. Something like Lovecraftian cosmic horror is not necessarily the scariest thing you immediately feel, but instead it is the dread and the concept that it leaves you with. That small and vulnerable feeling that something unexplainable could just blink in the direction of the planet and wipe us out completely. Sure, I might scream louder when playing a game like Outlast, but the thought from something like cosmic horror will stay longer in my mind. And in the case of Nacht der Untoten, you feel a range of emotions from the situation that combine together to crush your hope. The thing is, we humans are very hopeful creatures and will always try to find a way to survive. But there is no way to survive here. Your end will always be the same, and there is nothing you can do about it. And that hopelessness of your situation and the dread of your inevitable demise, that is what true horror is about. However, those concepts also need to be presented really well to get those emotions across successfully. Like, take Shaun of the Dead and compare that to the Recorder movie that I showed earlier in the video. Shaun of the Dead is a comedy that is just really enjoyable to watch, and the zombies don't encroach on your fear levels as much. But take the Recorder movie, where you have to watch the movie through the perspective of lost camera footage. You see the people change and the fear of the characters that you follow and the horror they are experiencing from a POV perspective. This lost footage idea is built on this concept that you discovered this footage while trying to survive in the zombie apocalypse yourself and you are only seeing what others experienced in their final hours before they changed. But yeah, I just quickly wanted to make a quick mention of that. Now, why just Nacht der Untoten, and not any or all of the other zombie maps from the Call of Duty franchise? They share the same DNA after all, and it could only improve as time went on, right? Here is the thing about the new Call of Duty zombie games that falls short compared to the World at War horror and scary vibes it leaves you with. It has a lot to do with presentation, and the newer Call of Duty games, although I will get to the other maps in World at War, went with this goofier and fun approach that makes the scary elements non-existent. I want to show you the difference between Call of Duty World at War and Black Ops 3 Zombies on the same map. I think most of you would agree that the newer zombies have lost their scare appeal a long time ago. They don't sound or look as terrifying as they used to, nor is the ambience so tense and unnerving in Black Ops 3. World at War focused on making the zombies not just an actual threat, but the game intended to make sure you take it more seriously. I think this has a lot to do with the game itself though, since World at War was a very serious and dark game about World War II, and it kept that serious face, even with something as ridiculous as zombies, but it still managed to pull it off. However, the other maps in World at War is where the problem of a goofier fun mode begin to show, and the serious face begins to crack a smile. You see, when the newer maps in World at War came out, they had a small addition added to amplify the game mode, and it was the introduction of the colas. These colas give you a slight edge, like the speed cola increasing your reload time, or Juggernog that makes you tougher so you can tank more than 2 hits from the zombies. They even play a little song when you grab one of the drinks from the vending machine. But you may wonder, what is wrong with this? I mean, after all, World at War zombies, even on these maps, are still quite terrifying compared to the other Call of Duty games from more recent years. Well, you see, these colas diminishes the threat that the zombies poses to the player. They increase your survivability and give you the luxury of getting out of some really tense moments because you can pull off more extreme victories. It's no longer just you, the shitty World War II guns you have, and the weak wooden barriers that keep the zombies out for a short time. But now you are able just to plow down many more zombies much more easily. That risk and threat that the zombies are in Nacht der Untoten are no longer as risky or dangerous because you have the abilities to fire faster, take more hits, reload faster, and heal faster. Another issue were the maps themselves. They became bigger, with more rooms to explore, more areas to run to, traps that help prevent a horde from swarming you, and new Wunderwaffen weapons that can just kill everything in a pinch. The maps are no longer this claustrophobic environments that make you feel trapped and isolated. But now you have so much more room to move that give you the ability to escape from being surrounded or boxed in. Your visibility is better, and you can even see where the zombies are coming from. Personally, I like the idea of a huge swarm of zombies already surrounding my building in Nacht der Untoten, but instead, I have to see how the zombies just claw out of the same spots to rise up and attack me in the other maps. Now, to be fair to the other maps in World at War, they are still scary, and they were used with experimental ideas since it was such a new thing. I do still like these maps, since the game still keeps that simplistic presentation, unlike the newer Call of Duty Black Ops 3 zombie game modes that have the gumballs and the bright lights everywhere with notifications about everything. However, I certainly noticed the drop in my fear levels when playing the other maps and had almost no tense anxiety in Black Ops 3. Now, if you prefer that less serious and goofier fun-focused zombie style, I fully understand, and you are absolutely right to have those opinions. However, the thing that I personally miss from the World at War Nacht der Untoten is that feeling of being afraid of my opponent. In World at War, they made me feel anxiety and fear when I'm surrounded and unable to easily fight them off. I try to keep my distance from them as much as I can because I know the threat they pose and what they are willing to do. They are scary, but in the later Call of Duty zombie games, I just didn't experience that same emotions towards my opponent and the environment that I am in. I am no longer afraid of the zombies that are meant to kill me. So, to wrap this video up, in order to make a good, scary horde zombie game, in my opinion, there needs to be quite a few elements that need to work together. The zombies individually need to be a threat, so you try to keep your distance from even just one. But you also need to make it a small area to give you a claustrophobic and trapped feeling that makes you feel anxious when you hear a zombie coming towards you. The zombies need to also look and walk scary, but the darkness or poor visibility should hide most features, which will reveal themselves when they are closer. The zombie sounds need to be distinct and loud enough to make you think it is closer than it actually is, while the zombie being fast enough to actually close that distance quickly, forcing you to pay attention to those zombie sounds. Your way of defending yourself needs to be lacking by giving you only a few options that are not ideal, like crappy guns. Maybe even adding in something like gun jams could really spike up the fear levels, since now you can't even trust your own weapons that are meant to defend you. But most importantly, the game either needs to make you have hope that quickly gets destroyed, or make you think that there is hope only to slowly deteriorate and eat at that hope. Your situation needs to be so dire that your death will always be inevitable. This may be a long list of things to pull off, but it can all be found here on Nacht der Untoten. I genuinely believe zombies have so much more potential for a scary type of horror than just being a fun with friends gaming genre, or just a story-focused type like The Walking Dead or The Last of Us. But instead, most zombie games just fall into these niches, mostly because I think too many people don't expect a zombie game to truly cause fear. Seriously, go play a round of Nacht der Untoten in World at War, and you will find that there is something special to the original. Thanks for watching.